this is Elizabeth from Gabriel Family Adventures, and today I'm going to tell you about our year living in Pacific Grove, California, and why, if you're thinking about moving there or visiting, why we loved it. So what I'm going to do is give you an overview of what it's like to live in Pacific Grove, kind of some of the fun things to do there, and then a few of the drawbacks that come with living at the beach and living in that part of California, so that you can make an informed decision about whether or not you want to visit or relocate to Pacific Grove. So here we go. Pacific Grove is located on the central coast of California in Monterey County, and it is located south of Monterey and north of Pebble Beach, which is really well known for one of its famous golf courses. But an interesting fact about Pebble Beach is that it's actually way bigger than most people think. There are 6 incredible golf courses there, and then south of Pebble Beach is Carmel, and Carmel by the Sea is one of the iconic, picturesque places to go in California. So Pacific Grove itself, it is affectionately known as the last small town in America. It's also known as Butterfly Town, USA, because it is one of the stopping points for the monarch butterfly migration, which is really incredible. During certain times of the year, you just have butterflies everywhere you go, and it's really, really beautiful. So some of the things that drew us to Pacific Grove. First off, it's beautiful. You're minutes away from the ocean no matter where you live, and you can go along, there's trails all along the water. Some are paved, some are gravel, and so there's a lot of opportunity to go running and biking. And because you're located so close to Pebble Beach, 17-mile drive, kind of the historic drive through Pebble Beach, actually starts in Pacific Grove, so you can follow some of the trails if you don't want to go on the road itself, and you can actually get into Pebble Beach and go along the water there as well. But the views in Pacific Grove are absolutely stunning. Your sunsets, if you want to go to Asilomar State Beach, you can watch some of the most beautiful sunsets year-round, and it is simply gorgeous. So we visited for a weekend, we fell in love, and we decided to take our adventurous little family and have fun at the beach for a year. And what's interesting about living on the Central Coast is that the weather is very temperate. It's in the mid-60s pretty much every single day throughout the year. And you often start out with a little morning fog that usually burns off, and then you get a little bit more in the evening. So it's nice weather. Some people, like myself, I thought it was a little on the cold side. I felt like I was always a little cold, but for people who run a little hotter, it's refreshing because you're not burning up in the summertime, you're not freezing cold in the winter. It's, Goldilocks just right pretty much every day out of the year. And the other thing that's really fun about Pacific Grove is that their downtown has lots of really sweet restaurants and a wide variety of foods. You can get Thai food. Of course, you can get seafood. There's seafood all over, and there's lots of really fun dining options for you. And we had a great time spending the year exploring different restaurants. I don't think we had a really disappointing meal the entire time we were there. Now, the restaurants tend to be on the smaller side. With the exception of 1 or 2, the restaurants are often built in these little homes because the town of Pacific Grove actually used to be a religious retreat, so the lots are very small. It's these historic homes that are often over 100 years old, and some of them have been converted into restaurants. So there's not a lot of tables. I do recommend making reservations on the weekends, especially when there's different attractions in the area, which I'll get to in a moment, because if you really are dying for some Thai food, well, there's only maybe 6 tables in the Thai restaurant in downtown Pacific Grove, so you might not get to eat there. but you won't be disappointed in the food. And if you want some bigger restaurants, all you have to do is hop on over to Monterey, and they have lots of options of very large dining facilities, Bubba Gump Shrimp and those kind of big tourist areas. But if you want to escape the hustle and bustle of a very large tourist area, you just come back over to Pacific Grove. And what I love to do is when we lived there, I would go for runs where I would leave my house, and about 4 minutes into my run, I'd be at the beach, and then I would run along the trail, along the water, go into Monterey where they actually have a paved trail that goes for miles. So I could, run all over Monterey. If I took my road bike, I could take the paved trail out to Fort Ord, over by the sand dunes, and you can bike for hours on paved trails where you don't have to be on the road, so it's significantly safer than if you're out on a really busy street. So you can enjoy outdoor activities almost every single day of the year because the weather's so nice, and I really appreciated that. Now, if you have a family, what's great about Pacific Grove is that the school district is only 4 schools. There are 2 elementary schools and then a middle and a high school, and they share some funding responsibility for a county school, kind of an alternative location, and there is also a charter school. But the 4 public schools are funded quite generously through what's called being a basic aid school district. And so if you're not in the education field, what that means is that you derive a lot of your funding from local property taxes. And because Pacific Grove is right next to Pebble Beach, and because Pebble Beach actually has a lot of homes, they get a lot of funding from the beautiful and expensive homes in Pebble Beach. So the school district is very small. There's only about 2,000 students in the entire district, but it is pretty well funded, so you tend to have smaller class sizes. My daughter's class only had 18 students in it, which was fantastic. And the test scores of the school district are pretty high. It's a very high-ranking school district. The high school only has a little over 600 students. So if you're looking for that huge high school experience, this is not the place for you. But if you want a school where all the teachers know all of the kids, know the families, and everyone kind of knows each other, then this is an awesome place to go to high school. So those are some great things about living there if you have kids. And because you're at the ocean, you also have tons of activities. Like in the summertime, they have surf camps for the kids. The Monterey Bay Aquarium is a phenomenal place to go. And even if you don't have kids, the Monterey Bay Aquarium is incredible. There's also really fun events throughout the year that are sponsored, some of which are sponsored by locals. So for example, over the Christmas holiday, there's a family that actually pays for a carnival with a bunch of rides and fun activities to come in to one of the local downtown parks and set up. And so that's a really great opportunity for the kids to play. And because it's such a small town, no matter where you go, you're gonna see people that you know. You're gonna see classmates of your kids and their parents. And so it's really fun to be able to mingle, and in a very short period of time, we felt like we knew a lot of families that were living in Pacific Grove. And so if you don't like that sort of thing, think about it, because it is a small town. But I really enjoyed it, and I felt like our kids were always so happy because anytime we went to the park, it seemed like we would see someone that we knew. So we felt that intimate connection with the small town feel. And another really great event they have is the Butterfly Parade, and it's where all of the students in the 2 elementary schools get all dressed up, and they have different themes for every grade. The kindergartners are the monarch butterflies, and they do this parade through downtown Pacific Grove, and then you get to see the middle school and high school kids, the dance teams and stuff like that performing. There seem to be every few months a different event. So there's the Feast of Lanterns event, there's the Good Old Days, which closes off all of downtown and is so fun. There's live music and rides and things like that. So there's always something to do. Every weekend you can find a lot of fun in Pacific Grove. But if you want to go outside of Pacific Grove, because you're centrally located, you have a lot of really incredible things to do. So for example, you can spend time in Pebble Beach. If you're a golfer, that's a great place to go. Now, Pacific Grove does have its own golf course. It's the Pacific Grove Public Course. It's incredibly affordable. They call it the poor man's Pebble Beach, but a lot of the locals love it because it's not that busy. And it's still a really nice course with these gorgeous ocean views. So that's an option for you. If you're a hiker or kind of an outdoorsy person, you're really close to a lot of state parks. And so if you wind down through Carmel, down the highway, what you'll come across is just incredible ocean views. So you've got all kinds of state parks, working your way down to Big Sur, which is known for its picturesque beauty. It also was heavily featured on the HBO show Big Little Lies, so I think it's brought some people to the area. And you can just spend days driving down the Central Coast, and you can camp. There's different places to stay, and it's absolutely beautiful. And what's awesome about living in Pacific Grove is you can take day trips to lots of these great state parks and then make it back in time for dinner. One of the things that is kind of famous in the area is Car Week. And so Car Week is kind of wrapping up the summer, and it takes place in Monterey, Pacific Grove, Pebble Beach, and Carmel. And there's different events throughout the week. It actually brings in millions of dollars in revenue for the area because you'll see these cars that are being auctioned off for, sometimes over $1 million each. And so there's all these events, and we had actually just moved to Pacific Grove when Car Week happened, and we were living on 17 Mile Drive. We were renting a house, and so we saw all of these Lamborghinis and Maseratis flying down the road. We're like, what in the world is going on? And then we found out later it was Car Week, and it brings a lot of big spenders and sometimes celebrities to the area. Another thing that brings a lot of individuals to the area are the golf tournaments that occur in Pebble Beach. And I actually had the opportunity to volunteer at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, which is a celebrity golf tournament where celebrities and professional golfers pair and over the series of a few days compete. And what was really fun is that I actually got to see Larry Fitzgerald, who was a football player for the Arizona Cardinals, and he actually won the tournament last year when I was there volunteering. So that was really interesting. And if you're a local, you can volunteer for these events. So then what happens is if you volunteer for a day or two, even during the practice rounds, then you get a pass and you can go to the entire tournament the rest of the week. So that's a really fun little inside tip if you're around that area. And if you live there, another thing to do is, if you want, is actually leave town for the week if you're not a big golfer, and you can rent out your house for a pretty penny because a lot of people come in from all over the country to watch the Pro-Am. It's a huge tourist attraction for the area. Now, some of the drawbacks to the area. The biggest drawback is the cost of housing. We're looking to rent a house, and we wanted a 4-bedroom house so that we could have a guest room and then rooms for our kids, and it was about $3,500 a month for a house that was over 100 years old and about 2,400 square feet with single pane windows. And if you want to buy a house, now obviously the houses right on the ocean are, you can't really get anything less than $2 or $3 million and up from there. There was a house actually for sale in Pebble Beach that I would bike by pretty regularly that was for sale for about $40 million. I don't know if it ever sold, but it was incredible. And so if you're looking to buy a house not right on the water, but kind of inside of Pacific Grove a little bit, you're still gonna pay a little under about $1,000 a square foot. And getting anything over about 2,000 square feet can be a little tricky. It's actually price per square foot less expensive to buy a home in Pebble Beach than it is to buy in Pacific Grove. And the other thing to be mindful of is they have a restriction on the number of bathrooms you are allowed to have in your home. So they have this thing about water credits. And the issue is that access to water on the Central Coast is an issue. But the way they're trying to handle it is restricting bathrooms. And so let's say you buy a house that, and we looked at a few homes because we were thinking about buying that were, say, 3 bedrooms and 1 or 1.5 bathrooms. And anywhere else you'd say, oh, perfect, I'll just add another bathroom, no problem. Because most houses there are pretty old, so you're gonna wanna do some remodeling. Well, that's not the case. You have to file a bunch of paperwork, you have to get on a waiting list, you may or may not be allowed to add that bathroom or add laundry or things like that. So be careful if you're looking to purchase a home in Pacific Grove. Look at the home itself. Do they have extra water credits? Kind of what's going on there? Because that was actually something that kind of affected our decision, our ultimate decision to not purchase a home in Pacific Grove. And the other thing, like I said, the homes are incredibly small. Many of them don't have much of a backyard, especially the closer you get to the water. You don't have a lot of backyard. You may or may not have a garage. If you do, it's probably a 1-car garage. So things are just a little smaller. Now, if you're an empty nester who wants to live that beach life, then this is a great place. You can get a tiny little bungalow, or if you want a home that you can be there part of the year and then potentially rent out, this is a wonderful location, and then you don't have a lot of maintenance because the homes are very small. The other thing is, if you're looking to purchase a vacation home that you want to rent out, there are restrictive rules when it comes to short-term rentals. So the city has actually they've been battling whether or not people living in Pacific Grove can rent out their homes on Airbnb for short amounts of time. And so this is an ongoing process. The upcoming election may directly impact this. So if you're looking to rent out your home for, say, 6 months at a time, or one of the places we looked at renting actually did 1-month rentals. And so that's an option for you if you want to do longer term rentals for your property. But if you just want to throw it up on Airbnb, you might not be able to do that in the near future. So just something to think about. So another thing that is great about Pacific Grove, that, because it's so picturesque and beautiful, you can go whale watching, you can go fishing, you can do all kinds of great things on the pier. I was actually riding my bike one day and I noticed all these cars parked along the water, and I was kind of confused. And I realized it was because there were about 7 orcas right out in the Monterey Bay. So it's a really special place. It is a gem. It's somewhere where I do believe we may end up when we're old and gray, because I do love it so much. Now, the reason we ended up moving to Colorado, which is where we live now, I'll share a link below of the video about why we left California, but we might be back someday. So if you have any questions about Pacific Grove, Monterey, Carmel, Pebble Beach, please put those below. I did love our year there, and I highly recommend it as a vacation destination. And if you're looking to leave, maybe the hustle and bustle of the Bay Area, it is a great place to go if you don't mind driving 90 minutes to get to the San Jose airport. If you want to fly somewhere, Monterey does have an airport, but it doesn't have a ton of options for flights unless you're coming in on a private jet, which good for you. But that's one of kind of the other drawbacks, is that it is a little tricky to get somewhere. And one of the reasons why we ended up leaving was because we wanted quicker access to an airport, because we love to travel so much. But anyways, if you want to add your own 2 cents about the area, or if you have any questions about the area, please don't hesitate to add those below, and subscribe to this channel for more travel and living adventures in the future. Thank you.